Hey everyone, it's Hannah from HR Images. In today's video, we'll be talking to you about the brand new Sony 1635 f2.8 G Master Mark II version. So stay tuned. So I recently received the 1635 GM Mark II. I've had a short time to play with it, so this is going to be more of a first impression video of what I thought of this lens. First thing what we'll do, we'll get into the build quality of this lens. So unlike the first gen of the 1635, the Mark II version comes with an aperture ring now, where the Mark I doesn't have an aperture ring. The GM Mark II is actually a lot smaller than the Mark I version, both carrying an 82mm filter thread. The Mark I actually weighs about 680 grams, whereas the Mark II version weighs about 547 grams. So there is a significant difference in the weight. So an all-rounder lens, especially if you want to vlog, things like that, this is a great lens in terms of weight-wise, especially now when we're traveling and we got weight restrictions going on airlines. Everybody is always looking out for lighter and carrying minimal gear just to avoid paying that extra in terms of the weight. The height of the Mark I version is 121.6 millimeters, while the Mark II version is 111.5. So there is a bit of a difference in terms of the height as well. There isn't like a larger difference compared to the 2470 Mark I and Mark II, where there was a good marginal difference. But for the 1635, there is a bit of a difference in terms of the height, but weight, there is a big difference. With the Mark II versions of the lenses, they do come with the aperture click. So if you are doing photos, you can keep it on the click so you can hear it. And if you're shooting videos, you can actually have the D-click off. So that way, if you want to change the aperture while doing video, it is very quiet and silent, so you don't hear it in audio. You've got the iris lock to help preventing lens creep. Now, using this lens for a bit, I have not used the iris lock. I haven't noticed any terms of lens creep, which is good. Focus ring is smooth. They haven't got a firmness to it, but it is smooth to it. And the focus ring is also a nicer soft turn. Both got two focus hold buttons with an MF and IF switch. So I paired this lens up with the ZVE one, and I was just playing around with it. So just here's a quick video of me just walking around, acting like I'm vlogging in it. It is a good vlogging lens, especially if you want to travel and you want a wide lens, whereas you also want a 35mm, because especially in street photography and if you're traveling, travel lens, generally around the 35mm mark is more the go-to. Sometimes you do need wider. So the 1635 gives you that option, and it gives you that wide for that nice vlogging style look as you want. But at the same time, having it light and pairing it up with the ZVE one, it was actually a very light combo just to carry around like that on your hands without feeling the weight on it. Even for video, the autofocus on this lens is great. I haven't sort of found too much of a use in terms of video. Instead, I've found more use doing vloggings, but when it comes to video, I couldn't do much with it because the focal length gives me a lot of restrictions in terms of the wide length. But just here's a quick video of my dog running around, just showing you how the focus handles in this. So I was in the city the other day and I had the 1635. I thought, you know what? Great for landscapes, cityscapes, as well as a bit of street photography, as I said, because you got the 35mm focal length. But I do love the wide lens of a 16mm. If I can get wider, I tend to lean towards the 12 to 24, but it is a lot heavier than the 1635. So if you want a light travel lens for cityscapes, landscapes, for street photography, you know, here's this shot I've captured in the city. This is a 16mm. I do love shooting at the 16mm because it gives that nice perspective of your buildings, of the subject you are shooting. So with this, I did find minimal distortion at 16mm when I'm shooting landscapes. Didn't notice much issues. Here is a few more shots shooting some sunsets. These are all handheld, not on a tripod. What I did notice as well, here's just a sharpness test with this lens. So at 16mm wide open at f2.8, it is actually sharp in the center as well as in the corner. And as you can see, there is no distortion on the edges. And here's another one at 24mm, showing you the center as well as the corners. Still sharp at 35mm, wide open at f2.8. Now this one is at 35mm and showing you again the center, how sharp it is, as well as the corner. So unlike a lot of zoom lenses, once you zoom in a different focal lengths, it tends to find corners start to turn out to be softer than other focal ranges in that zoom lens. Whereas the 16-35, I did find it consistently stays sharp in the corners as well as wide open. What I did love about the 16-35, I do a lot of event, wedding, and portrait photography. So events, I don't intend to use primes as much as I do with weddings and portraits. So for event photography, I love to use the 35-150 Samyang lens. The 16-35, pairing it up with that, gave me a vast range of focal range to cover. So shooting with the 35-150, being on a boat, shooting a Christmas party for a corporate company, the 35 obviously wasn't wide enough. What I loved about the 16-35, I could shoot at 16mm, showing you this image, grabbing a large group shot at the back of the boat, very minimal space, getting the city in the background, gorgeous sunset. Now, the only thing is with the 16mm, you gotta be careful. As you can see, the guy on the far right of the image, he looks slightly distorted because of the 16mm. So 16mm is not really ideal for portraits, but if you are in a tight spot like where I was and I needed a wider shot, it's perfect lens. So I did find 16-35 to 35-150 paired up very well in event photography. Shooting with this lens, shooting with the 35-150, it covered me, and I just only had to take 2 lenses. I don't like to use zoom lenses in weddings. I like prime because it gives a nicer depth to it opposed to zoom lenses, and with weddings I like to be a bit more creative, so which is why I don't use zoom lenses for weddings. I did notice as well when shooting against the sunlight, so here's a shot, this shot here, testing off a lens flare, the 16-35 holds very well against lens flare. It gives nice star lines against the sun, but very minimal sun flares, which is really good. Even here, if you look at this image, I haven't really noticed any chromatic aberrations sitting against harsh sunlight. So the G Master Mark II, like the 24-70, holds up very well with chromatic aberration, which is another impressive thing. Saves you, I know a lot of people say it doesn't matter if it has chromatic aberration, but last thing you want to do is spend more time in post removing those sort of things. Whereas having a lens that kind of minimizes all that for you to save you time post-processing the images to get your work out quicker to go on to the next job, which is great about the the GM Mark II versions. Focusing for stills, shooting at this event as well, corporate event, the focusing kept up really well. So it's very good in low lighting, which is another bonus. So again, if you do a lot of events, a lot of nightclub photography, and you need a wide lens, you need fast focusing, especially in low light, 16-35 GM Mark II actually performs very, very well. I was actually very impressed the minute I started using this lens, and I would like to have a 16-35 compared to pair up with the 35-150. So there is a possibility in considering this lens for me in terms of what I do. But this is just a quick first impression review on this lens, showing you my thoughts, giving you some examples, and showing you what this lens can do. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you do, check out the links below. Join my Facebook groups and follow me on social media to stay up to date with a lot of things. Until then, guys, I'll catch you later. See ya.